Okay. Hi guys. So I'm going to redo the video tutorial for Adrig's constraint. So constraint again, meaning is a tool to set a controller in order to animate an object. So the requirements for this command or control is to have an object that will act as a controller and to have another object that will act as a controller. So it's same idea as set driven key or SDK. However, the difference is in SDK you need to set limits within the minimum and maximum value. Okay, in constraint it doesn't have minimum or maximum value. So there are different kinds of constraint. We have parent, point, scale, aim, ball vector, rivet, remove target, motion path, closest point, geometry, normal, and tangent. Okay, rivet, UV pin, proximity pin are new to Maya 2020. That's why it's highlighted in green. Okay, so the process in creating constraint or doing constraint is you have to select the controller, and then later on you select the control, and then choose whatever types of constraint that you're going to use. Okay, um, so that's it for constraint. Now let's move on and apply these to our lecture. I cannot change my. There you go. So, constraint can be done using two different model, whether it be a two polygonal object or two NURBS object. It can be two different type of object. Okay, and it can be a node and an object. So let's try constraint uh, translate first. Okay, so let's say I'm going to create this sphere, or I'm going to make this sphere as a controller of a cube. Okay, so I wanted that every time this sphere translate, this cube translate as well. Okay, or the other way around, we can make this cube as a controller to make this sphere move. Okay, so move means to translate. Okay, now to make this as a controller, you have to select first whatever is the controller or the one controlling, and then shift on the controllee, and then you go to make sure that you're in animation mode, or sorry, rigging, constraint, and then point. Okay, as you can see, the sphere snap inside the cube. The reason for that is because it's taking the place of the controller. It will inherit the placement of the controller. So the controller is currently on this location. That's why when I constraint snap to point my sphere to this cube, it automatically goes into the same place where my cube is. So 4, if I hit number 4, there you go. Now if I try to move this cube, okay, the sphere will automatically follow. Okay, however, and it doesn't give me it, I don't need to set limits to it. So whatever type of whatever value am I going to move this sphere, it doesn't matter. Okay, because it adapts whatever the translation of the cube. Now, it also adapts the translation on z-axis and y-axis. So, it's not inclusive into one axis, but you can move it in any axis. Now, if I try to rotate my cube, okay, my sphere doesn't follows because the only constraint that I have for my sphere is the constraint on the translation or move of my cube. So, how do I make the sphere follow the rotation of my cube? So, while selected my cube is, I'm going to shift select on my sphere and then constraint orient. Okay? Now, if I try to select my cube and then rotate this, okay, as you can see, my sphere is rotating along with the cube. Okay? Now, let's try to scale if it will follows. Scale? No. So, it ignores the controller's scaling because it doesn't have a constraint on scale. So, let's try to constrain the scale. So, select the controller first, shift select on the controller, and then you go to constraint, scale. Now, why did the sphere snaps into a size bigger than the first scaling or the previous scaling? The reason for that is because it adapts whatever size the cube is. So the scaling for the cube is 2.632. So if we try to check the sphere, it also turned into 2.632. Okay? So it has to have the same value on whatever constraint you are going to apply the controller to the controller. Okay, so now if I try to make my cube scale, okay, it automatically follows. Now if I try to scale down my sphere, it won't follows the cube. Same thing with the rotate or translate. Okay, so it's a one-way relationship. Okay, only one object takes control of the other object. Okay, you can also make another object, okay, controlled by the same controller. Okay, so let's say I have here a cylinder. This time I want to make the whenever my cube rotates, okay, my cylinder, okay, will rotate as well. Okay, but let me try to rotate this for a change of settings. Okay, and then wait, negative 90. It's not, my numerical number on keys is not working. Okay, now since I'm going to make the cube the controller of the cylinder, I'm going to select first the cube and then shift select on my cylinder and then constraint point because we need orientation. Okay, as you can see, it snapped into the placement of our controller object. Okay, every time you do the constraint, it will automatically snap into the placement or orientation or scaling of the controller. Okay, so make sure that both controller has the same size. Okay, so if whenever I rotate this, okay, rotate, okay, how come it doesn't follows?